Sienna Castellano's hands gripped the steering wheel of her battered Honda, parked in the shadows of Harlow Memorial Hospital's gleaming entrance. Another contraction seized her belly, for minutes apart now. She gasped, counting seconds, waiting for the pain to pass. 9 months pregnant, homeless, and about to give birth in a car. This was rock bottom. Through her rain-streaked windshield, she watched wealthy people stride past her car without a glance. Designer coats, expensive shoes. Not one of them saw her. To them, she was invisible. Just another piece of urban debris cluttering their perfect world. The contraction eased. Sienna checked her phone. 8:42 p.m. The hospital's emergency room glowed like a beacon just 50 yards away, but she couldn't go in. Not yet. Not with the warrant hanging over her head like a guillotine. One scan of her ID and she'd be arrested for embezzlement. $3.2 million they said she stole. Money she'd never touched. Money that had destroyed her life. She was about to start timing the next contraction when she heard it. The roar of an engine accelerating too fast for a hospital parking lot. The black Mercedes sedan exploded around the corner, tires screaming against wet asphalt. Sienna's breath caught. A small figure stepped off the curb ahead. A boy, maybe 8 years old, wearing a blue jacket. He had earbuds in, oblivious to the approaching car. "No," Sienna whispered. The Mercedes didn't slow down. If anything, it accelerated. The driver's window reflected the parking lot lights, and for one crystal-clear second, Sienna saw her face. Red hair pulled back, sharp features twisted in rage. A hospital administrator badge clipped to her blazer. The woman was screaming at someone on her phone, not watching the road at all. The boy looked up too late. The impact sent him flying. His small body arced through the air in terrible slow motion before crashing onto the pavement 15 feet away. His shoe came off. One earbud dangled from the cord, still playing music no one could hear. The Mercedes kept going. Sienna's hand flew to her door handle. She had to help, had to call someone. But before she could move, another contraction ripped through her, this one different. Stronger. Lower. A warm gush of fluid soaked the driver's seat. Her water had broken. "No, no, no," she panted, fumbling for her phone. She had to call 911 for the boy, had to get help. But her hands were shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. The contraction built and built until she couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but grip the steering wheel and scream. People were running toward the boy now. Someone was shouting for a doctor. Through the haze of pain, Sienna saw a tall man in a white coat sprint out of the hospital's entrance. He dropped to his knees beside the child, fingers flying to check for a pulse. The contraction finally released her. Sienna gasped for air, her vision swimming. She had to move, had to get help for herself. The baby was coming now, ready or not. She pushed her car door open and tried to stand. Her legs gave out immediately. She hit the wet pavement hard, pain shooting through her knees. Another contraction was already building. They were coming one on top of the other now. No break, no mercy. "Help!" she tried to shout, but it came out as barely a whisper. "Someone help me." No one heard. Everyone was focused on the boy. She was still invisible. Sienna crawled. Literally crawled on her hands and knees across the parking lot, leaving a trail of amniotic fluid behind her. 20 feet. 15. 10. The emergency entrance seemed impossibly far away. Another contraction hit, and she collapsed flat, her cheek pressed against cold, wet concrete. This was how she would die. This was how her baby would die. Alone in a parking lot while the world rushed past. "Ma'am? Ma'am, can you hear me?" The voice came from above. Sienna forced her eyes open. The man in the white coat was kneeling beside her now, his hands gentle on her shoulder. Up close, she could see he was young, maybe mid-30s, with dark hair and eyes that held an ocean of exhaustion. His coat was splattered with blood. The boy's blood. "The baby," Sienna gasped. "The baby's coming. I know. I've got you." He was already lifting her, stronger than he looked. "Stay with me. What's your name?" "Sienna. Is the boy. Other doctors have him. Right now, I need you to focus on breathing. How far apart are your contractions?" "There's no apart. They're constant. I need an epidural. There's no time." He kicked open a side door to the hospital, carrying her through a maze of white corridors. "I'm Dr. Dominic Harlow. I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon, which means I'm completely unqualified for this. but you're having this baby right now, and I'm all you've got." He shouldered through another door into what looked like a small examination room. Not labor and delivery, not an operating room, just a basic exam room with a table and some cabinets. He laid her down as gently as he could, already pulling on gloves. "I can't do this," Sienna sobbed. "I can't. I'm not ready. I don't have anything." "Yes, you can." His voice was calm, steady, an anchor in the storm. "You've been doing it already. You just need to keep going a little bit longer. Can you do that for me?" Another contraction consumed her. She screamed. "That's it," Dominic said. "Let it out. Don't hold back. Now, Sienna, I need you to push. On the next contraction, I need you to push as hard as you can." Through her tears, through the pain, Sienna saw his hands positioned to catch her baby, saw the determination on his face, saw that he wasn't going to let her fail. So she pushed. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button below. You're about to see how this impossible night changes 3 lives forever. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, and let's continue this story together. The baby wouldn't breathe. Sienna watched in horror as Dominic pulled her daughter free, a tiny, purple-tinged thing covered in blood and vernix. Silent. Completely silent. Babies were supposed to cry. Everyone knew that. But hers just lay limp in the doctor's hands like a broken doll. "No," Sienna whispered. "No, please, no." Dominic was already moving, laying the infant on a warming table he'd wheeled over. His hands worked with practiced precision, clearing the airway, stimulating the chest. "Come on, little one. Come on." Nothing. He positioned 2 fingers on the baby's tiny chest and began compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe. Sienna tried to sit up, but her body wouldn't cooperate. She'd just pushed a human being out of her body, and now that human being was dying, and she couldn't even reach her. "Please," she sobbed. "Please save her." Dominic didn't answer. All his focus was on the infant. Compressions. Breath. Compressions. Breath. His jaw was clenched so tight Sienna could see the muscles jumping. Sweat beaded on his forehead. 30 seconds that felt like 30 years. Then a sound. A tiny, rattling gasp. Another. And then the most beautiful sound Sienna had ever heard. Her daughter's first cry. Weak, but there. Alive. Dominic's shoulders sagged with relief. He scooped up the baby, quickly wrapping her in warm blankets before placing her on Sienna's chest. "She's here. She's breathing. You did it." Sienna's hands shook as she touched her daughter's face. So small. So impossibly small. Dark hair plastered to her head. Eyes squeezed shut. Mouth open in protest at this strange new world. "Hi," Sienna whispered. "Hi, baby. I'm your mama. I'm your mama, and I love you. I love you so much." The baby's crying quieted at the sound of her voice. One tiny fist wrapped around Sienna's finger with surprising strength. "What's her name?" Dominic asked gently, checking the umbilical cord. Sienna hadn't let herself think about names. Hadn't let herself plan for a future she wasn't sure would come. But looking at her daughter now, only one word felt right. "Iris. Her name is Iris." "Iris," Dominic repeated, a small smile crossing his exhausted face. "That's beautiful. It means rainbow. Hope after a storm." Before Sienna could respond, the door burst open. A nurse rushed in, eyes wide. "Dr. Harlow, they need you in trauma." "The boy from the parking lot. He's crashing." Dominic's face went white. "That's my son." The words hit Sienna like a physical blow. The boy. The one hit by the car. That was his child. "Go," she said immediately. "Go to him. We're okay. Dr. Tanaka is coming to check on you and the baby," Dominic said, already moving toward the door. He paused, turning back. "That car. The one that hit Cole. Did you see it?" Sienna's throat went dry. She should say yes. Should tell him everything she saw. The driver's face, the red hair, the hospital badge. But if she admitted to witnessing a crime, the police would come. They'd run her name. They'd find the warrant. They'd take Iris away before Sienna even had a chance to hold her properly. "I just arrived," she heard herself lie. "I didn't see anything. I'm sorry." Dominic studied her face for a long moment, and Sienna was certain he could see right through her. But then he nodded and disappeared through the door. Sienna closed her eyes, hating herself. A child was fighting for his life, and she'd just lied to his father to save her own skin. The door opened again. A woman in scrubs entered, but this time it wasn't a nurse. It was the woman from the parking lot. The driver. Up close, she was striking, sharp cheekbones, cold blue eyes, red hair now neatly pinned. Her hospital badge read, Natasha Harlow, hospital administrator. Harlow. The same last name as Dominic. Ms. Castellano, Natasha said, her voice smooth as silk. I'm here to discuss your situation. I don't understand. Your baby will need to stay in our NICU for observation. Standard procedure for traumatic births. But there's the question of payment. Insurance information. Next of kin. Natasha's smile didn't reach her eyes. We ran your name through our system. Quite a lot came up. Outstanding warrants. Embezzlement charges. Very interesting reading. Sienna's heart stopped. Please. I didn't do what they said I did. I was framed. I just need. What you need is irrelevant. Natasha stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. You're the architect, aren't you? From Apex Design. I recognize you from the news coverage. You designed the very building we're standing in. The hospital expansion. Yes, but I never stole. I don't care what you did or didn't do. Natasha glanced at Iris, and something dark flickered in her expression. I care that you're here, in my hospital, and you're about to become a very expensive problem. Before Sienna could respond, the door opened again. Dominic strode back in, his face a mask of barely controlled emotion. Natasha, what are you doing here? Hospital administration, Natasha said smoothly, her demeanor shifting instantly. Checking on our newest patient. Though I'm surprised to find you playing obstetrician, darling. Isn't that a bit outside your specialty? Coles and surgery. Sophia's team has him. There was nothing I could do but wait. Dominic's voice was strained, and Sienna needed help. How noble. Natasha's gaze flickered between them. Well, I'll leave you to your good deed. Ms. Castellano, we'll discuss your payment arrangements later. She left, and the temperature in the room seemed to rise 10 degrees. I'm sorry about your son, Sienna said quietly. Dominic rubbed his face with both hands. Traumatic brain injury. Broken ribs. Punctured lung. They're operating now, but... His voice cracked. He's 8 years old. He was just walking to the parking lot to meet me after his piano lesson. I'm so sorry. Natasha said you were from Apex Design. The architecture firm. Here it comes, Sienna thought. The questions. The judgment. I was. Before everything fell apart. The embezzlement case. I saw it on the news. Dominic sat down heavily in the chair beside her bed. Did you do it? Sienna met his eyes. No. I was framed. But I can't prove it. And now I'm here with a newborn and no way to take care of her, and I don't know what to do. Silence stretched between them. Then Dominic spoke. I need your help. Sienna blinked. I'm sorry, what? I need your help, Dominic repeated, his voice raw with exhaustion. And you need mine. So I'm going to make you an offer. Before he could continue, a young woman in a white coat entered carrying a tablet. Her badge read Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Pediatric Cardiology. She smiled warmly at Sienna before moving to examine Iris. Let me just do a quick check on this little one, Dr. Tanaka said, placing her stethoscope against Iris's chest. Her smile faded. She listened for a long moment, moved the stethoscope, listened again. Dr. Harlow, could you step outside with me for a moment? Whatever you need to say, you can say it in front of her, Dominic said firmly. Dr. Tanaka hesitated, then nodded. I'm hearing a significant heart murmur. We'll need to do an echocardiogram immediately, but based on what I'm hearing. She turned to Sienna, her expression gentle but serious. I believe your daughter has hypoplastic left heart syndrome. The words meant nothing to Sienna. What does that mean? It means the left side of her heart didn't develop properly. She'll need 3 surgeries to survive. The first within the next week, the second when she's 4 to 6 months old, and the third between 2 and 4 years old. Sienna's world tilted. Surgeries? How much do surgeries like that cost? Dr. Tanaka glanced at Dominic uncomfortably. Without insurance, we're looking at approximately $500,000. Possibly more, depending on complications. $500,000. Sienna started laughing. It was either laugh or scream. I don't have $500,000. I don't have $500. I don't even have a place to sleep tonight. Ms. Castellano. I've been living in my car for 2 months. Everything I own is in that car. I have exactly $43 in my bank account and a warrant out for my arrest for a crime I didn't commit. Sienna looked down at Iris, sleeping peacefully in her arms, unaware that her tiny heart was broken. I have nothing. I am nothing. You're a mother, Dominic said quietly. That's not nothing. Dr. Tanaka cleared her throat. I'll give you some privacy. I'm going to order that echo for first thing in the morning. Try to get some rest. She left, closing the door softly behind her. Sienna couldn't look at Dominic. Couldn't bear to see the pity she knew would be in his eyes. You should go. Your son needs you. Cole is in surgery for at least another 4 hours. And when he wakes up, Dominic's voice cracked again. His mother left 6 months ago. Just packed her bags one day and moved across the country with her new boyfriend. Cole hasn't spoken since. Not one word. Before the accident, I tried everything. Therapists, child psychologists, support groups. Nothing worked. And now this. I'm sorry. That's awful. The nannies I've hired can feed him, clothe him, make sure he does his homework. But they can't reach him. No one can reach him. Dominic leaned forward, his eyes intense. But I watched you tonight. I watched you crawl across a parking lot while in labor because you were determined to survive. To get your baby the help she needed. That's the kind of strength Cole needs to see right now. Sienna finally understood. You want me to help take care of your son. I want to offer you a deal. The hospital has a family residence program for patients who need long-term care. Fully furnished apartments, utilities included, right here on the hospital campus. You and Iris can stay there. I'll pay for all of her surgeries. All of her care. Everything. It was too good to be true. It had to be. In exchange for what? 2 things. First, you help Cole. You don't have to be his therapist or his mother. Just be there. Talk to him. Let him see that people can survive broken things. Dominic pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and turned it to face her. Second, you tell me the truth about what you saw in that parking lot tonight. On the screen was a photograph of a black Mercedes sedan. Expensive. Sleek. License plate starting with 7XV. Sienna's breath caught. You saw something, Dominic said. I know you did. You were parked right there. You had a clear view. And I need to know what happened to my son. Why would you help me if you think I'm lying to you? Because I watched you risk everything to bring life into this world in a parking lot. Because you named your daughter Iris. Hope after a storm. That's not someone who embezzles millions of dollars. He set the phone down. But I need the truth. What did you see? Sienna looked at Iris. Looked at this man who was offering her a lifeline. She'd already lied to him once. If she lied again and he found out, he'd take everything away. Iris would lose her chance. But if she told the truth and the police got involved, they'd find out about the warrant. She'd lose Iris anyway. If I tell you, she said slowly, you have to promise me something. You can't go to the police. Not yet. Not until I can figure out how to clear my name. Why can't you go to the police? Because I'm wanted for embezzlement. The moment I walk into a police station, I get arrested. My daughter goes into foster care, while I sit in jail waiting for a trial I can't afford to fight. Sienna's voice shook. So I need time. Time to prove I'm innocent. Time to make sure Iris is stable. Then we can go to the police about your son. Dominic studied her for a long moment. You're asking me to prioritize your freedom over finding out who hurt Cole. I'm asking you to help me be there for my daughter. And for your son. I can't do either from a jail cell. More silence. Then Dominic nodded slowly. Okay, tell me what you saw. Sienna took a deep breath. The driver was a woman. Red hair. She was wearing a hospital badge. She was on her phone, screaming at someone, not paying attention to the road at all. The car was a black Mercedes. Expensive. The license plate started with 7XV, just like the one in your photo. Dominic's face went pale. What did she look like? Describe her. Sharp features. Pale skin. The hair was pulled back tight. Why? Do you know who? That's Natasha's car. Dominic's voice was hollow. My ex-wife. The woman who was just in this room. Sienna's stomach dropped. Your ex-wife? But she was here. She was here 15 minutes after Cole was hit. There's no way she could have. Wait. Dominic pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen. Natasha texted me right after the accident. Said she was in a board meeting on the 4th floor when she heard about Cole. That she came down immediately. He showed Sienna the timestamp, 6:47 p.m. Cole was hit at 6:45. The 4th floor is a 2-minute walk from the parking lot. So she had time to hit him and get back inside? Maybe. But why? Natasha and I have been divorced for 3 months. Well, he hesitated. Technically, we're not divorced yet. The paperwork keeps getting delayed. She keeps finding reasons to postpone the final signing. A chill ran down Sienna's spine. What reasons? Insurance complications. Shared assets. Every week it's something new. Dominic stood abruptly, pacing the small room. But she wouldn't hurt Cole. She has no reason to. We ended things amicably. She understood that Cole needed stability, that jumping into marriage so quickly after Sophia left was a mistake. How quickly? Dominic rubbed his face. 4 months after Sophia left, Natasha and I got married. We'd dated in college, reconnected when she took the administrator position here. I thought. He laughed bitterly. I thought she understood what Cole and I were going through. I thought she wanted to help. But she didn't. She tried. But Cole never warmed to her. He'd leave the room whenever she entered. Wouldn't speak to her. But then, he wasn't speaking to anyone. After 2 months, Natasha said she couldn't handle being rejected by a child every day. We separated. Started divorce proceedings. Sienna shifted Iris carefully in her arms. And you're sure it was her car I saw? I need to check the security footage. Dominic was already heading for the door. Stay here. I'll be back. He was gone before Sienna could respond. She looked down at Iris, who was making small sucking motions in her sleep. A baby with a broken heart. A mother with a broken life. And now they were tied to a man whose son had been nearly killed by his not-quite ex-wife. What had Sienna gotten herself into? 20 minutes later, Dominic returned. His face was ashen. What did you find? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He sat down heavily. The security footage from the parking lot has been corrupted. All 4 camera angles. The IT department says it looks like someone with administrative access deliberately wiped it. Who has administrative access? Department heads, senior staff, and hospital administrators. Dominic met her eyes. Natasha has full access to every system in this building. The pieces were falling into place in a way that made Sienna's blood run cold. She wiped the footage to cover her tracks. I need to see her car. Check it for damage. Dominic pulled up something on his phone. She parks in the executive garage. Reserved spot. If there's evidence, dents, scratches, anything, we'll have proof. And then what? You said yourself we can't go to the police yet. Then I confront her. Force her to confess. Dominic, if she hit your son and then deleted security footage to cover it up, she's not going to just confess because you asked nicely. Sienna adjusted Iris, who was starting to fuss. We need to be smart about this. You're offering me a place to stay and medical care for my daughter. The least I can do is help you figure out who hurt your son. Sienna paused. Even if it means investigating your ex-wife. Dominic looked at her for a long moment. You're either very brave or very foolish. I'm desperate. There's a difference. Sienna managed a weak smile. So when do we check out this car? Tonight. After visiting hours end. The executive garage will be nearly empty. And if we're caught, then I'll say I was checking on my own car and got turned around. Dominic stood. But we won't get caught. I still have my override key card from when Natasha and I were married. She never revoked my access. A nurse entered to take Iris for the echocardiogram. Sienna's arms felt empty without her daughter's weight. Dominic must have seen something in her face because he said gently, Dr. Tanaka is the best pediatric cardiologist in the state. Iris is in good hands. I know. It's just, I've only had her for an hour, and I already can't imagine life without her. That's what it means to be a parent. Dominic's expression softened. That instant, irrational, all-consuming love. It's terrifying. Does it get easier? No. But it gets more worth it. He checked his watch. I need to go check on Cole. His surgery should be finishing soon. Will you be okay here? I'll be fine. Go be with your son. After he left, Sienna lay back against the pillows, her body aching in places she didn't know could ache. She should sleep. Should rest while she had the chance. But her mind wouldn't stop racing. Natasha Harlow had hit Cole. She was sure of it. The question was why. And what did any of this have to do with Sienna's embezzlement case? Because she didn't believe in coincidences. Not anymore. 3 hours later, Dominic returned. His eyes were red-rimmed, but there was cautious hope in his expression. Cole made it through surgery. He's stable. Unconscious, but stable. That's wonderful. Dr. Ramirez says the next 48 hours are critical. If he wakes up, if there's no brain damage. Dominic's voice caught. If he wakes up, I need him to see that the world isn't completely terrible. That there are still good people. People who care. I'll do everything I can to help him, Sienna promised. I know you will. Dominic glanced at his watch. It's almost midnight. Visiting hours ended an hour ago. Most of the staff will have gone home. If we're going to check Natasha's car, Now is the time. Sienna started to get up, then winced. I just pushed a human out of my body 3 hours ago. I'm not sure I can walk. You crawled across a parking lot in labor. I think you can manage a walk to the garage. But Dominic's tone was gentle. He offered his arm. I've got you. They made their way through the quiet hospital corridors. Most of the lights were dimmed for night mode. The few nurses they passed were too busy with their rounds to pay attention to a doctor and a patient taking a walk. The executive garage was accessed through a secured door in the basement. Dominic swiped his keycard. The light flashed green. Still works, he murmured. They stepped into the concrete parking structure. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The space was nearly empty, just a handful of expensive cars scattered across reserved spots. Natasha's black Mercedes was parked in spot E7. They approached carefully. Even from 10 feet away, Sienna could see that something was wrong. The front bumper was pristine. Showroom perfect. The paint gleamed under the harsh lights. It's been replaced, Dominic said, running his hand along the edge. This is new. The paint hasn't even fully cured yet. She fixed it. We have nothing. Wait. Sienna moved to the windshield. There, in the lower corner, was a tiny spiderweb crack. Easy to miss unless you were looking for it. What about this? Dominic leaned in close. That's impact damage. Small, but definitely. The elevator dinged. They froze. The elevator door slid open with a mechanical whisper. Footsteps echoed across the concrete. 2 sets, moving quickly. Dominic grabbed Sienna's arm and pulled her behind a concrete support pillar just as the voices became clear. Don't care about your excuses, Gerald. You said she'd be in jail by now. That was Natasha's voice, sharp with anger. Sienna's heart stopped. Gerald Morse. Her former boss. The man who'd framed her for embezzlement. She risked a glance around the pillar. Natasha stood beside her Mercedes, arms crossed, facing a man in an expensive charcoal suit. He was in his 50s, silver-haired, with the kind of smooth confidence that came from never having to worry about money. Sienna had once admired that confidence, before she learned it was built on lies. I didn't anticipate she'd go into hiding, Gerald said, his tone defensive. The warrant should have been enough. She should have turned herself in. Well, she didn't. And now she's here. In my hospital. Living in the family residence with my husband. Ex-husband. Not officially. Natasha's voice turned venomous. And not ever, if I have anything to say about it. Dominic is mine. He just needs to remember that. Besides Sienna, Dominic's jaw clenched so tight she could hear his teeth grinding. Gerald sighed. What does it matter? She can't prove anything. The money is safely offshore. As long as she can't access the original building files, she can't prove the security flaw was mine. Sienna's breath caught. Building files. Security flaw. What building files? Natasha asked. The Apex Tower project. Castellano designed a vulnerability into the digital security system. Probably didn't even realize what she'd created. I exploited it to funnel money out through dummy vendor accounts, then pinned the whole scheme on her. Gerald laughed, the sound making Sienna's stomach turn. Brilliant architect, terrible with cybersecurity. You're a bastard, Natasha said, but she was smiling. I love it. Just make sure she doesn't find those files. They're in your hospital's digital archive, the backup drives from when Apex used Harlow Memorial for their corporate health program 3 years ago. The digital archive. The evidence that could prove Sienna's innocence was here. In this building. All this time. Don't worry, Natasha said. I have full access to the archives. If she gets close, I'll know. And I'll delete everything before she can see it. Good. Because if those files surface, we both go down. The identity theft operation, the medical fraud, all of it. Identity theft. Medical fraud. This was so much bigger than embezzlement. Gerald moved toward his own car. A silver Lexus 3 spots over. Fix your car properly. That crack in the windshield is sloppy. It's barely visible. Visible enough for someone who's looking. Gerald opened his car door. And people are always looking, Natasha. That's something you need to learn. He drove off. Natasha stood there for a moment longer, staring at her Mercedes. Then she pulled out her phone and made a call. It's me. I need you to replace a windshield. Tonight. Black Mercedes, spot E7 in the executive garage. I don't care what it costs. Just do it. She paused. And make sure there's no record of the work order. Nothing that can be traced back to me. She hung up and walked back toward the elevator, heels clicking against concrete. Sienna and Dominic stayed hidden until the elevator doors closed and the garage fell silent again. "Did you hear that?" Sienna whispered urgently. "Gerald Morse. He framed me. He admitted it. And Natasha is helping him cover it up." "I heard." Dominic's voice was tight, with barely controlled rage. "They're working together. But why? What does my son's accident have to do with your embezzlement case?" "I don't know. But we need to figure it out fast." Sienna pulled out her phone and took several photos of the windshield crack before the repair crew arrived. "This might be our only evidence." They mentioned patient files. Identity theft. What are they doing with patient information? Selling it, probably. Medical records contain everything: social security numbers, addresses, insurance information, credit card details. It's a gold mine for identity thieves. Sienna's mind raced. Gerald must have needed a way to launder the money he stole. Natasha gave him access to patient records. They've been running this scheme together for years. And you were just collateral damage. I designed the security system for this hospital expansion. I knew all its vulnerabilities. I was a threat. Sienna looked at Dominic. "But I still don't understand what this has to do with Cole." Dominic's face went pale. "Cole's laptop. He borrowed mine last week because his was being repaired. He was doing homework in my office. What if he saw something? Patient files, financial records, something he wasn't supposed to see. And Natasha found out. She hit him on purpose." Dominic's voice shook. "My son saw something that could expose her, so she tried to kill him." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. "We need to get to those archive files," Sienna said. "If we can prove what Gerald did with the Apex money and connect it to Natasha's patient data scheme, we can bring them both down." "The archives are in the secure basement. Biometric access only. Administrators and senior staff. Can you get us in?" "Not without triggering alerts. Every entry is logged and reviewed." Dominic ran a hand through his hair, thinking, "But Cole can. As my son and a patient in long-term care, he's registered in the emergency access system. If I'm ever incapacitated and he needs my medical records, he can access the archives with a guardian override. He's 8 years old and in a coma. When he wakes up, we can use his biometrics to get in. I can authorize it as his father." Sienna's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I know what you're planning. Come to the archives alone at midnight tomorrow, or I call the police about your warrant." She showed Dominic the screen. "It's a trap," he said immediately. "Of course it's a trap. But she has all the leverage. She can have me arrested with one phone call. Iris goes into foster care. Everything we've learned becomes useless because I'm in jail and can't prove any of it. So what do we do?" Sienna looked at the message again. "Midnight tomorrow." That gave them 24 hours. "We spring the trap," she said. "But on our terms." The next morning, Sienna stood in Cole's hospital room, holding Iris against her chest. The little boy lay motionless in the bed, machines beeping softly around him. Bandages wrapped his head, and 4 drip fed medication into his arm. He looked impossibly small against the white sheets. "The doctors say he should wake up today," Dominic said quietly from the doorway. "His brain activity is strong. It's just a matter of time. And when he does, then we figure out what he saw. What Natasha is so desperate to hide." Dominic moved to his son's bedside, touching Cole's hand gently. "I keep thinking about what you said last night. About being smart. About springing the trap on our terms. I've been thinking about it too." Sienna adjusted Iris, who was making soft cooing sounds. "Natasha wants me in those archives alone. She's going to try to force me to delete the evidence, probably threaten Iris to make me comply. But what if we record everything? Get her confession on tape. Recording without consent isn't admissible in court." "No, but it would give us leverage. Proof to take to the police that we're not just making accusations." Sienna paused. "And if Cole wakes up and can tell us what he saw, if he can testify?" A small voice interrupted her. "I saw everything." They both spun around. Cole's eyes were open. Barely, but open. His gaze was unfocused but aware. "Cole." Dominic was at his son's side instantly. "Don't try to move. You're in the hospital. You were hurt, but you're going to be okay. Miss Natasha hit me with her car." Cole's voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. "I saw her face." Sienna's heart raced. "Cole, do you remember what happened before she hit you?" The boy's eyes drifted to her, then to the baby in her arms. "You have a baby. This is Iris. She's brand new, just like you're brand new after your surgery." Sienna moved closer. Cole, I know you're tired, but this is really important. Can you tell us what you remember? I was walking to meet Dad after my piano lesson. Miss Natasha's car came really fast. She was on her phone, yelling at someone. Cole's face scrunched up, trying to remember. She was crying. She said something about files, and a kid being in the way. Dominic's face went white. What do you mean in the way? She said. I can't do this anymore, Gerald. The kid is always watching, always listening. If Dominic finds out what we're doing with the patient files. Cole's voice trailed off. Then she looked up and saw me. She tried to stop, but it was too late. Gerald, patient files. Everything connected. Cole, Sienna said gently. Did you see something on your dad's computer? Something you weren't supposed to see. The boy nodded slowly. I was doing homework in Dad's office. A file popped up on the screen. It had lots of names and numbers. Social security numbers, I think. Like the ones Mom used to have on her tax papers. He looked at Dominic. I didn't mean to snoop. It just appeared. What did you do? Dominic asked. I closed it. But Miss Natasha came in right after. She asked if I'd seen anything on the computer. I said no, but I don't think she believed me. Cole's eyes filled with tears. Did she hit me because of that? Because I saw the file. Oh, buddy, no. None of this is your fault. Dominic gathered his son carefully into his arms. You didn't do anything wrong. But Sienna knew the truth. Cole had seen evidence of the identity theft operation. Natasha panicked. And whether the accident was intentional or just reckless, she'd tried to eliminate a witness. Cole, Sienna said, I need to ask you something important. Were you wearing your smartwatch when the accident happened? My smartwatch. Cole touched his wrist, which was bare now. Yeah, I always wear it. Dad got it for me, so I could call him if I needed help. It records video, doesn't it? Cole's eyes widened. I set it to record when I left piano class. I always do that when I'm scared. I was scared that day because Dad and Miss Natasha had a big fight that morning. She said I was in the way of them being a family. Dominic's expression darkened. She said that to you? I heard her say it to you. She didn't know I was listening. Cole looked down. She said you could never really love her while I was around. That I reminded you too much of Mom. Cole, that's not. It's okay, Dad. I know you love me. And I didn't want her to be my mom anyway. Cole turned back to Sienna. My watch was recording when she hit me. The hospital people took it off me in the ambulance. They said they'd keep it safe with my other stuff. Sienna and Dominic exchanged glances. Video evidence. Actual footage of Natasha admitting to the patient file scheme and then hitting Cole. Where would they have put his personal belongings? Sienna asked. Patient property storage. 3rd floor. Dominic was already moving toward the door. I'll get it right now. Wait. Cole's voice stopped him. There's something else. On the watch. I kept recording even after she hit me. The watch fell, but it was still on. I heard her talking to someone. She was panicking. She said, he saw everything. The Castellano woman's files. The offshore accounts. What if he tells Dominic? Castellano. Sienna's files. She knows you're connected to all this. Cole said, looking at Sienna. She's been planning something. I heard her say she'd make you disappear before you figured it out. A chill ran through Sienna. Make her disappear. How far would Natasha go to protect her secrets? Dominic's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and his face went grim. It's hospital security. They're asking me to come to the administrator's office immediately. Natasha wants to see me. Don't go, Sienna said. It's too dangerous. I have to. If I don't show up, she'll know we're onto her. Dominic squeezed Cole's hand. I'll get your watch first, then I'll handle Natasha. You two stay here. Lock the door after I leave. After he left, Sienna did lock the door. Then she sat in the chair beside Cole's bed, Iris sleeping in her arms, and waited. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dominic. Got the watch. Video is all here. It's perfect evidence. On my way back. Relief flooded through her. They had proof. Real, admissible proof of everything. Another text came through, this time from the unknown number. Change of plans. Come to the archives now. Dominic is already here. If you want to see him again, come alone. Sienna's blood ran cold. She called Dominic's number. It went straight to voicemail. She tried again. Same result. A photo message appeared on her screen. Dominic, sitting in a chair in what looked like the basement archives. His hands were zip-tied behind him. Blood trickled from his temple. Gerald Morse stood behind him, holding something that glinted in the fluorescent light. A scalpel. The message that followed was short. You have 5 minutes. Come alone, or Dr. Harlow learns what it feels like to be on the wrong end of a surgical instrument. And bring the smartwatch. Sienna stared at the photo, her mind racing. 5 minutes. Dominic was being held hostage in the archives. She had to get there, but she couldn't leave Cole and Iris alone. And she definitely couldn't bring them into danger. She looked at Cole, who was watching her with wide, frightened eyes. What's wrong? Your dad is in trouble. I need to go help him, but I can't leave you two here alone. Sienna's hands were shaking. Think. Cole, can you press your call button? Get a nurse in here. Cole reached for the button. Within 30 seconds, a young nurse appeared at the door. Everything okay? I need you to stay with Cole and my baby. Don't let anyone in this room except Dr. Harlow or hospital security. No one else. Not even hospital administrators. Sienna placed Iris gently in the bassinet beside Cole's bed. Every cell in her body screamed not to leave her daughter, but if Natasha and Gerald won, Iris would lose both her parents anyway. Ma'am, I don't understand. Please, just do it. Lock the door after I leave. Don't open it for anyone. Sienna grabbed Cole's smartwatch from where Dominic had left it on the bedside table. Cole, you're so brave. You saved your dad by recording that video. Now I need you to be brave a little bit longer, okay? Cole nodded, tears streaming down his face. Bring him back. I will. I promise. Sienna ran. The basement archives were accessed through a service elevator most patients never saw. Her body screamed in protest. She was less than 24 hours postpartum, but she pushed through the pain. Dominic needed her. She couldn't fail him the way she'd failed herself when she'd been too scared to fight Gerald's accusations. The elevator descended with agonizing slowness. When the doors opened, she found herself in a stark concrete corridor lined with metal doors. Server rooms. Storage. And at the end of the hall, a door marked Digital Archives, authorized personnel only. It was propped open. Sienna approached slowly. Her phone buzzed. Another text. Inside. Now. She stepped through the doorway into a cavernous room filled with rows of server racks and backup drives. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The air was cold, climate-controlled to protect the equipment. Dominic was tied to a chair in the center of the room, just like in the photo. Gerald stood behind him, that scalpel pressed against Dominic's throat. But Natasha was the one who stepped forward to greet Sienna. You're predictable, Natasha said, her voice eerily calm. Dominic, too. I knew if I grabbed him, you'd come running. You've gotten attached already, haven't you? Playing house. Playing family. Let him go. This is between you and me. Oh, it's so much bigger than that now. Natasha circled Sienna like a predator. You brought the smartwatch. Sienna held it up. Right here. And you watched the video? Yes. So you know everything. The patient files. The identity theft. Gerald's embezzlement scheme. Natasha smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You know, I actually admired you once. Brilliant architect. Young. Talented. Everything handed to you on a silver platter. Nothing was handed to me. I worked for everything I had, and I took it all away in 2 months. Natasha laughed. Do you know how easy it was to frame you? Gerald needed someone to blame for his missing money. I needed to make sure no one could trace the hospital security vulnerabilities back to your original design. It was perfect. You disappeared, discredited. Problem solved. Except I didn't disappear. No. You showed up here. Pregnant. Homeless. Perfect victim. Natasha's expression hardened. And then you had to attach yourself to my husband. Ex-husband. Dominic said through gritted teeth. The scalpel pressed harder against his skin, drawing a thin line of blood. We're not divorced yet, darling. And we never will be. You're mine. Natasha turned back to Sienna. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to access those archives with your designer backdoor code. You're going to delete every piece of evidence linking Gerald to the embezzlement and me to the medical fraud. Every file. Every backup. Everything. And if I don't, then Gerald kills Dominic while you watch. Then we kill you. And that baby upstairs? She goes into foster care with a heart condition and no one to pay for her surgeries. She'll die within a year. Natasha's voice was ice. Or you cooperate, sign this confession, and disappear quietly. We'll even pay for one of Iris's surgeries. Call it a severance package. She slid papers across a nearby table. Sienna picked them up, reading quickly. It was a full confession, not just to embezzlement, but to staging Cole's accident to frame Natasha, to stalking Dominic, to everything. You want me to confess to hitting Cole? Someone has to take the fall. Cole is awake now. He's talking. He'll tell people what he remembers. This way, we control the narrative. Natasha pulled out her phone. Sign it and delete the files, or I call my contact at the police department. They'll discover your warrant. They'll arrest you. And while you're being processed, Gerald will make sure Dominic has a tragic accident in the archives. Gas leak. Explosion. These old buildings are so dangerous. Sienna looked at Dominic. His eyes met hers, and she saw him mouth two words. The watch. The watch. It was recording right now. It had been recording since she picked it up. Every word Natasha and Gerald had said was being captured. Okay, Sienna said slowly. I'll do it. I'll delete the files. She moved to the server terminal and began typing. The system prompted her for the backdoor access code, a 16-digit sequence she'd memorized years ago during the building's construction. But she didn't type the deletion command. She typed something else entirely. A remote upload command. Every file in the archive, every piece of evidence of Gerald's embezzlement and Natasha's fraud, began copying to a secure cloud server, one that neither of them could access or delete. What's taking so long? Gerald demanded. The system is old. It's processing. Sienna kept typing, watching the upload progress bar creep forward. 60%. 70%. Natasha moved closer, looking over her shoulder at the screen. That's not a deletion command. No, it's not. Natasha lunged for her, but Sienna was faster. She grabbed the smartwatch and held it up. Every word you've said for the last 5 minutes has been recorded. Confession to fraud. Conspiracy to commit murder. Threatening a federal witness. It's all here. Gerald's face went pale. That's not admissible. You can't record someone without consent. Cole can. Dominic's voice was steady despite the blade at his throat. It's his watch. He's a minor. His recording of his own attempted murder is absolutely admissible. And so is everything recorded in his presence afterward. You're bluffing, Natasha hissed. The upload progress hit 100%. Sienna smiled grimly. Try me. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the building. Red lights flashed in the hallway outside. What did you do? Natasha screamed. I triggered the hospital's emergency investigation protocol. When there's suspected criminal activity involving patient records, the entire security system locks down automatically and contacts the authorities. Dominic's voice was triumphant despite his position. Every door is sealed. Every entrance and exit. No one gets in or out until the police arrive. Gerald's hand shook. You're lying. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Gerald's composure cracked. He looked at Natasha, panic flooding his face. You said this would be clean. You said there wouldn't be any complications. Shut up and let me think. Natasha spun toward the door, but it had already sealed with an electronic click. She swiped her administrator keycard. Nothing. The light stayed red. Override code. What's the override code? There isn't one during a security lockdown, Dominic said calmly. That's the point. No one, not even administrators, can open these doors until the police clear the building. The sirens were closer now, maybe 2 minutes away. Gerald's hand trembled, the scalpel wavering against Dominic's throat. This is over. We need to run. Run where? Natasha's voice was shrill. Every exit is locked. We're trapped like rats. Then we have leverage. Gerald pressed the blade harder, and blood trickled down Dominic's neck. We have a hostage. We negotiate our way out. That's not going to work, Sienna said, trying to keep her voice steady despite her racing heart. You hurt him, you lose your only bargaining chip. You kill him, you get murder on top of everything else. We're already looking at life in prison. Gerald shouted. What's one more charge? Natasha grabbed Gerald's arm. Wait. Just wait. There's still a way out of this. She turned to Sienna. Delete the upload. Whatever you sent to the cloud, delete it. Do that, and we let Dominic go. I can't delete it. It's encrypted. Even I don't have access anymore. You're lying. I'm not. The moment the upload completed, it became evidence in an active investigation. The system automatically locks it. Sienna held up the smartwatch. And this? This is already backed up to the cloud too. Cole's safety feature. Everything recorded on this watch uploads automatically to his father's secure account. Dominic managed a pained smile. I taught him that after his mother left. So I'd always have a way to reach him, hear him, even when we were apart. You planned this, Natasha breathed. All of it. The watch, The upload, the lockdown. You played us. You hit my son with your car and left him to die, Dominic said, his voice like steel. You tried to frame an innocent woman. You stole from patients who trusted this hospital. Did you really think I'd let you get away with it? The sirens stopped. They were here. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. A voice boomed through a megaphone. This is the police. Everyone inside the archives. Put your hands where we can see them. Gerald's composure shattered completely. He jerked the scalpel away from Dominic's throat and bolted toward a side door, a maintenance exit Sienna hadn't noticed. He swiped frantically at the keypad. The door clicked open. Not locked. He'd found a way out. Gerald, wait. Natasha ran after him. Gerald didn't wait. He shoved through the door into a stairwell. Natasha followed, and the door slammed behind them. Sienna rushed to Dominic, pulling at the zip ties binding his wrists. Are you okay? Your neck. I'm fine. It's just a scratch. Dominic twisted his hands, and the zip ties snapped. His wrists were raw and bleeding, but he was free. Where does that stairwell lead? If it's maintenance access, it probably goes up to the loading docks. The police will have those surrounded. The main archive door burst open. Officers in tactical gear flooded in, weapons drawn. Hands up. Now. Sienna and Dominic raised their hands immediately. We're the ones who triggered the lockdown, Dominic said quickly. Dr. Dominic Harlow, head of cardiothoracic surgery. This is Sienna Castellano. The suspects fled through that maintenance door, Natasha Harlow and Gerald Morse. They're armed with a scalpel and dangerous. A detective pushed through the officers. A woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and graying hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her badge read Detective Rebecca Shaw. Dr. Harlow, Ms. Castellano. Shaw's gaze swept over them, taking in Dominic's bleeding neck and Sienna's hospital gown. We received an automated alert about potential criminal activity involving patient records. Want to tell me what's going on? Everything you need is here. Sienna held up the smartwatch. Video evidence of attempted murder, conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. It's all recorded. Shaw took the watch carefully. We'll need statements from both of you. My son, Dominic said urgently. Cole Harlow, 3rd floor, room 312. He witnessed his own attempted murder. He needs protection. Shaw spoke into her radio. Send 2 officers to room 312, 3rd floor. Protective custody for a minor witness. She turned back to them. What about the suspects? A crackle of radio static. Suspects spotted heading to the loading dock. In pursuit. More static. Then, suspect Gerald Morse in custody. Suspect Natasha Harlow barricaded in the pediatric wing. She's demanding to speak to Dr. Harlow. Dominic's face went white. The pediatric wing. That's where. Where Cole is, Sienna finished, her stomach dropping. And Iris. Shaw's expression hardened. How many people are in that wing? At least 24, Dominic said. Patients, families, staff. It's one of our busiest units. Is she armed? She has access to medication. Supplies. Scalpels. Dominic was already moving toward the door. If she feels cornered, there's no telling what she'll do. Dr. Harlow, you need to stay here. That's my son up there. And there's a newborn baby who needs protection. I'm going. Dominic's voice left no room for argument. Shaw studied him for a moment, then nodded. Fine, but you follow my lead. No heroics. She spoke into her radio again. This is Detective Shaw. I need a hostage negotiator at the pediatric wing immediately. Suspect is barricaded with potential hostages. Approach with caution. They rushed toward the elevator. The lockdown had been lifted for law enforcement, but the hospital was in chaos. Staff and patients pressed against walls as officers swept through corridors. Somewhere in the distance, someone was crying. The elevator ride to the 3rd floor felt endless. Sienna's mind raced with terrible possibilities. Iris was up there, her hours-old daughter with a broken heart. And Cole, just waking up from traumatic surgery. Both of them vulnerable. Both of them in danger. The elevator doors opened to a scene of controlled chaos. Officers lined the hallway, weapons drawn. Families huddled in doorways, being evacuated by nurses. And at the end of the corridor, outside room 312, stood Natasha. She was holding Iris. The baby was crying. That thin, newborn wail that cut straight through Sienna's heart. Natasha held her awkwardly, away from her body, like Iris was a bomb that might explode. Stay back. Natasha screamed. All of you stay back, or I drop her. Sienna's legs nearly gave out. Dominic caught her arm, steadying her. Natasha, Detective Shaw called out, her voice calm and professional. Let's talk about this. No one needs to get hurt. It's too late for that. Everything is ruined. Everything I worked for. Natasha backed toward the window at the end of the hall. They were 3 stories up. Dominic was supposed to be mine. Cole was supposed to accept me. This was supposed to work. Natasha, please, Dominic said, taking a step forward. Put the baby down. She's innocent. She has nothing to do with this. She has everything to do with this. Her mother ruined everything. If Sienna hadn't shown up, if she hadn't made you care, Natasha's voice broke. You never looked at me the way you look at her. Because you hit my son with your car, Dominic said, his voice hard. Because you're a criminal who hurts children. Wrong thing to say? Natasha's grip on Iris tightened. Iris's cry became a shriek. The sound tore through Sienna like a knife. Her baby, her daughter, in the hands of a woman who had nothing left to lose. Natasha, look at me. Sienna stepped forward, ignoring Detective Shaw's restraining hand. You want Dominic? You want him to choose you? Then prove you're worthy of being chosen. Don't hurt an innocent baby. Why should I listen to you? You destroyed everything. I didn't destroy anything. You did that yourself the moment you decided to commit fraud. The moment you hit Cole and drove away. Sienna took another step. But it's not too late to do one good thing. Give me my daughter. Let her live. If I give her to you, I lose my only leverage. They'll arrest me. They're going to arrest you anyway, Detective Shaw said. But how this ends, whether it ends with you as someone who hurt a child or someone who chose mercy, that's up to you. Natasha's eyes darted between them, wild and desperate. Iris's cries were weakening. The stress was too much for her fragile heart. Please, Sienna whispered, tears streaming down her face. She's dying. You can hear it. Her heart can't take this. Please. For a moment, something human flickered in Natasha's expression. Doubt, regret, maybe even shame. Then Iris went silent. The baby's body went limp in Natasha's arms. The monitors on a nearby medical cart began screaming. Someone had wheeled it into the hallway during the chaos. No. Sienna lunged forward. Natasha looked down at the infant in her arms, horror dawning on her face. I didn't, she just. Dominic moved with the speed of a man who'd spent 15 years saving lives. He grabbed Iris from Natasha's frozen hands and laid her on the medical cart. His fingers found her tiny neck, checking for a pulse. She's in cardiac arrest. V-fib. I need a crash cart now. Nurses materialized with equipment. Dominic's hands moved with practiced precision, placing defibrillator pads on Iris's tiny chest. Clear. The shock made Iris's small body jerk. The monitor stayed flat. Again. Clear. Another shock. Nothing. Sienna couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't do anything but watch as the man she'd known for less than 2 days fought to save her daughter's life. Come on, Iris, Dominic murmured, starting chest compressions with 2 fingers. Come on, little rainbow. You don't get to give up. Not today. Not ever. He shocked her a 3rd time. The monitor beeped. Once. Twice. A rhythm established itself. Weak, but there. I've got a pulse, Dominic said, his voice shaking. She's back. Get in or prepped now. She needs that first surgery immediately. Her heart can't take any more stress. As nurses rushed Iris away on the cart, Dominic turned to Natasha. She was still standing there, frozen, staring at her hands like she couldn't believe what they'd done. You almost killed her, Dominic said quietly. An 8-day-old baby with a heart condition. You held her life in your hands, and you almost destroyed it. I didn't mean. I wasn't trying to, Natasha's voice broke. I loved you. Everything I did was because I loved you. You don't destroy people you love. Dominic stepped aside as Detective Shaw moved in with handcuffs. You don't hit children with cars. You don't steal from patients. You don't hold babies hostage. That's not love, Natasha. That's obsession. And I will never forgive you for what you did to my son. Shaw cuffed Natasha and read her rights. As officers led her away, Natasha looked back one last time. I could have made you happy. No, Dominic said. You couldn't. Because happiness built on lies and crimes isn't happiness at all. 7 hours later, Sienna sat in the surgical waiting room with Cole beside her. The boy had insisted on being wheeled down in his hospital bed to wait with her. His hand found hers and squeezed. Iris is strong, Cole said. Like you. I hope so. I know so. She came back once already. She'll come back again. The surgical doors opened. Dominic emerged, still in scrubs, looking exhausted but carrying a small, cautious smile. She made it, he said. The surgery was successful. Her heart is beating on its own. She's strong, Sienna. Stronger than any of us expected. Sienna burst into tears, relief, joy, exhaustion all crashing through her at once. Dominic sat beside her and pulled her into his arms. She let herself lean into him, let herself accept comfort for the first time in months. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything. For saving her. For believing in me." "You saved yourself," Dominic said. "You just let me help a little." Cole reached out and touched Sienna's arm. "Does this mean you're staying? You and Iris. If you'll have us." "I will. Dad will too. I can tell." Dominic laughed softly. "Is it that obvious? You look at her the way you used to look at Mom." Before she got sad, Cole's voice was matter-of-fact. "That's a good thing. You should be happy again." Over the next few days, the full scope of Natasha and Gerald's crimes unraveled. Detective Shaw built an airtight case using the smartwatch footage and the archived file Sienna had uploaded. Gerald's plea deal revealed everything: the embezzlement, the identity theft ring, the patient data sales. Natasha faced charges of attempted murder, conspiracy to commit fraud, child endangerment, and dozens of other counts. Sienna's name was cleared. The warrant lifted. The embezzlement charges dropped with an official apology from the district attorney's office. But more than her legal vindication, something else happened in those quiet days waiting for Iris to heal. A family formed. Cole started talking again, really talking, not just one-word answers. He'd sit beside Iris's incubator and tell her stories about his day, his dreams, his mom who'd left, but who he was learning to forgive. Dominic smiled more, laughed more. The grief that had hollowed him out began to fill with something new: hope. And Sienna learned what it meant to be seen. Really seen. Not as a criminal or a charity case or a victim, but as a woman, a mother, someone worthy of love. 6 months passed. Sienna stood in front of a gleaming new building, the Iris Wing at Harlow Memorial Hospital, a state-of-the-art pediatric cardiac center funded by the recovered embezzlement money. Her design, her second chance. She'd traded her hospital gown for a professional dress. Her architecture license had been restored. She was whole again. Ready? Dominic appeared beside her, carrying 8-month-old Iris. The baby was thriving after her second surgery, chubby and happy and reaching for everything. Cole ran up, carrying the ceremonial scissors for the ribbon cutting. "Can I help?" "You'd better," Sienna said. "This wing exists because of you. Your bravery. Your recording. You're the real hero here." Cole blushed, but looked pleased. The ceremony was simple but perfect. Sienna gave a speech about second chances, about how one person's decision to stop and help can change everything, about how family isn't always blood, sometimes it's choice. Afterward, Dominic pulled her aside. "There's something I need to tell you." Sienna's heart jumped. "What?" He pulled papers from his jacket. "The divorce from Natasha is finalized. As of yesterday, I'm officially single." "Oh, and I was thinking." He got down on one knee right there on the hospital steps. Cole appeared beside him, grinning, holding a small velvet box. "Sienna Castellano, you saved my son's life. You exposed corruption. You showed me what courage really looks like. And somewhere along the way, you became the person I can't imagine living without." Dominic opened the box, revealing a simple, beautiful ring. "Will you marry me?" Sienna looked at Cole, who nodded encouragingly. Looked at Iris, babbling happily in a nurse's arms. Looked at Dominic, this man who'd seen her at her lowest and chosen to believe in her anyway. "Yes," she whispered. "God, yes." 1 year later, they married in the hospital chapel. Small ceremony. Close friends. Dr. Tanaka was there, Detective Shaw, even some of the nurses who'd helped that chaotic night. Cole was ring bearer. Iris was flower girl, toddling down the aisle in her tiny dress. And when Dominic and Sienna exchanged vows they'd written themselves, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. At the reception, they announced the launch of the Second Chances Foundation, an initiative providing legal aid for wrongly accused individuals and financial support for families facing medical crises. "One act of kindness," Sienna said in her speech, "can start a chain reaction that changes everything." Dominic stopped to help a stranger in a parking lot. That stranger turned out to be exactly what his family needed. And together, We're going to help other people find their second chances too. As the evening wound down, Sienna found herself standing in the exact spot where she'd collapsed 9 months ago. The parking lot where everything changed. Dominic joined her, Iris sleeping against his shoulder, Cole holding his other hand. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking about that night. How desperate I was. How invisible I felt." Sienna looked at her family, because that's what they were now, officially and forever. "And I'm thinking about how one person's decision to see me, really see me, changed everything." "You were never invisible," Dominic said. "You were just waiting for the right people to look." They walked into their future together, scarred but healing, broken but mending, stronger for having survived the storm. Sometimes miracles don't look like miracles at first. Sometimes they look like strangers helping strangers. Like children finding the courage to speak truth. Like love growing in the darkest places. Sometimes miracles look exactly like second chances. We've come to the end of this story. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more inspiring stories about courage, redemption, and the power of human connection. Drop a comment below telling me, what would you do if you witnessed someone in crisis? Would you stop to help or keep walking? And where are you watching from? We love hearing from you all. Remember, one act of kindness can change everything. Be someone's miracle today. See you in the next story.